Okay, sounds good.
For authors, filmmakers, entertainment, and all your listening needs. Listen now to Talk Now Radio, where no topic is taboo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man. And joining me tonight is going to be Stanley Jolet, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. I always have trouble with certain names. I'm not sure if it's the certain letters are silent or not, in other words. But I'll let him correct me on that in a minute. He's been on before, but I've had so many guests I forgot the exact pronunciation. Before we get into this, however, I'd like to take a moment to remind everybody that October 23rd is coming up in about 7 more days, and I haven't had anybody send any emails saying they wanted to take part in the contest. So, folks, I couldn't have a contest without contestants. If you want to win a T-shirt or coffee cup or a cap, and I had to stop and think a minute for that one, with Talk Now Radio logos on them, send me an email, tell me what the title of your scary story is going to be, and where I can contact you to send you the prizes, etc., and for the show, and we'll get you set up. I need 5 people, so don't forget to contact me. Also, if y'all would like to call in during the show, ask questions, share, comment, the number's 832-632-7904. And if you want to learn more about tonight's guest, Stanley Jolet, you can go to www.CajunGhostHunter.com. Now, he didn't come on the air tonight to discuss his book. We did that in the past, not too long ago. Tonight we came because he's helping me celebrate Halloween, and he's going to share a couple, 3 of his, or more of his scarier stories or EVPs, or maybe 1 or 2 from the book if we get lucky. But I'm sure he also has some scary things that's been going on since the last time we talked that he can share with us as well. And actually, I also want to mention, everybody, I recently added a web ring as well as a top site to my site. So you blog masters and webmasters, group owners, all you folks that want to get the word out about your group or website, whatever it is you got, come over here, list it on my web ring, and that, the more people come to my site will see it. It will also get you higher up in the Google search engine. As a matter of fact, don't just join mine. Find other ones around the web. This is how you promote your website, is by adding it to top sites, to web rings, to web links, and Yahoo groups and Facebook and other places like that. So don't be bashful to share your site information with the world if you want people to be able to find you, basically. I'm only 1 out of 1 million places out there, and most people that have sites, they join a bunch of them. So, Stanley, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Royce. How about yourself?
I'm doing just fantastic. Was Jolet the correct pronunciation? I do this every time, I swear.
Well, actually, the present-day pronunciation is Jolet, but it's funny that you said Jolet because actually my ancestry goes all the way back to France, and my ancestors rode with Joan of Arc. And the original Jolet was actually a Cholet, Chollet, and it was pronounced Cholet. So saying Jolet was probably more on the original pronunciation than the present-day pronunciation.
I got you, and I want to apologize for that music in the background. That was your music.
Oh, okay.
I went to your website to get your link and copy it and paste it into the chat room, and I didn't realize you had that background music on it, and it just started playing on me.
It was time to hit the pause button down there.
Now, I don't know if you heard that music from your background or not. I know I did. Typhon, you're in the chat room. If you heard that, let me know that you heard it, because I got a YouTube video from Stanley I want to share. and I want to know before I click on the link if you're going to be able to hear it if I play it from YouTube. And if you heard from his site, you probably ought to hear from YouTube as well. Stanley, I want to thank you for coming and, sharing Halloween with me. Hoping to have a good time here tonight. Honestly, I'm not sure where we want to start this night off at exactly. I know that you've been doing a lot of EVP work since the last time we talked. I see you posting it all over Facebook. You got anything in particular you'd like to share about that?
Yeah, there's a particular one that's just probably the most outstanding interaction with a spirit that I've ever had in my life. In July, my niece, she moved into a new, it was a house she was going to share with a roommate there, and her roommate had told her that whenever somebody moved into her house, that she would have paranormal activity, and that in this paranormal activity, the pots, some books would fly off the bookshelf onto the floor, and either that or the pots and pans on top of the refrigerator would fall onto the floor. So my niece said, she got in touch with me, and she said, well, Uncle Stanley, would you come over and do like a house cleaning or something like that? And I said, sure, I'll come on over. Well, I never really ever did a house cleaning, okay? This was really the first time I'd ever been requested, because I really go out by myself to different locations and just try to capture information on my own. So this was the first time I was actually going to do an investigation and do a house cleaning simultaneously just to help somebody out. Well, when I got over there, before I went over there, I researched it on the internet and figured out that I needed to bring some holy water. I needed to bring some virgin olive oil to anoint the doorways and the rooms, the different rooms of the house. And I looked up and saw something to say that whenever I'm cleaning a room, some sort of speech to say, religiously to drive out the spirits, any evil spirits that might be lurking in that room, okay? So I gathered all this information and I went to New Orleans, and it was on Perrier Street, which is a little bit west of the Garden District in New Orleans. And it was an old house. I really don't know the history of how old it was, but if it's in New Orleans, there's a lot of old houses in New Orleans. Well, her roommate, my niece's roommate, told me that they had found that most of the paranormal activity occurred in the shed, okay? And that they had found a diary, like a journal in the shed. And in this diary, that there was a suicide note left by somebody, okay? So when I got to the house, the first thing I did was I went into the back bedroom, and I took out my EVP recorder. And it's an RT EVP recorder, and it scans at 50 milliseconds. It's a radio sweep. I'm scanning an FM. And usually when I do these, you can't really hear it, okay, as you're doing it. I connected some earbuds as I was recording, and sometimes I can hear some loud voices and pick up something, but usually I bring that data file home and I process it in Audacity and pick up, I amplify everything so that you can hear it really good. Well, while I was recording in that bedroom, I heard the spirit voice say, Jeremy. And it was loud and clear. And so I told everybody, I said, look, I heard this voice saying Jeremy. I said, it maybe the person that died here, maybe his name was Jeremy, okay? Maybe he's the one that wrote the suicide note. So my niece's husband, his name's Shane Mears. Shane said, well, do you want to go out in the back into the shed and record out there? I said, yeah. I said, let me get my PSB7 spirit box. I said, and we're going to go ahead out there and we're going to go ask Jeremy some questions. So I proceeded to go ahead out there and ask Jeremy some questions and find out why he committed suicide, okay? So needless to say, when we went out there, I was asking how he did it, what he did to himself, and spirit voice was telling me stuff like it was clear cut, and I asked him, did he do it to himself? And spirit voice says, I did, And Shane tried to communicate with him, and when Shane tried, said, Jeremy, are you going to say, it's like, are you talk to me, Jeremy? And why don't you say anything when I talk to you, Jeremy? And then you hear Shane goes, now you're being quiet. And all of a sudden you're going to hear a spirit voice comes on and goes, Jeremy. And when the spirit voice said Jeremy, Shane jumped up and he left the tool shed. He ran upstairs to tell his wife, Susan, that the spirit voice came over and said, Jeremy, okay? And so I'm there, and I'm cracking up laughing, and I said, Jeremy, I said, that's correct. I said, you scared Shane. He's gone. And you're going to hear a spirit voice says, ran away. And I said, yeah, he ran away. And then I asked him, how'd you die? Why'd you die? How'd you die? And the voice comes on and says, it's following me. And then you hear, I'm kind of chuckling, okay, because Shane walks back into the tool shed, and Shane goes, I'm back, Jeremy. And you hear the spirit goes, I know. I said, yeah, you know it. And then the last statement in this EVP session is the spirit, and he goes, how's Susan?
Now, that'd be really freaky to me, because I got a sister named Susan, and she's dead.
Uh-huh.
So that would kind of spook me. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, well, here we go. Tell me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play it. I'm playing it right now, okay?
Okay.
Here we go.
I gotta say, that don't quite sound like it.
Wait, that was a mistake. Here we go. Here we go.
What was a note here? They found a note saying you killed yourself. Suicide note. Did you follow through? Oh, yeah. Something like that. Something down the note. You know it? You know it? Yeah, we know it. We read the note. What'd you do? Did you do it to yourself? Jeremy. Jeremy, why'd you do it? Jeremy. Why don't you like Jeremy? Jeremy, why didn't you like when I say Jeremy? Now you're being quiet. Yes, that's correct, Jeremy. Yes. You scared Shane. He's gone. Yeah, he ran away. Why'd you die? How did you die? I'm back, Jeremy. Yeah, you know it. Did you hear it?
Oh, I heard it loud and clear. What I don't have no way of knowing right now is if anybody out in radio land can hear it, although I'm 99.9% sure it'll pick up in the archives.
Yeah, but that was just amazing. It was just simply amazing.
And that was gotten how recently?
That was in July of this past year.
Okay.
We had gone. Yeah, that was the first time I had ever gone to a house cleaning, and I really don't know if it worked because they were kind of her roommate was kind of unsure about it, because I guess she's been used to the paranormal activity, but a lot of people that are encountering paranormal activity in a house, they try to ignore it so that it doesn't proliferate throughout the house.
Okay. I'm a little distracted here because you notice Aaron disappeared out of the chat room, And he said that the player wasn't working for him, and I realized that when I had that crash I told you about, the IP had changed on the player back to the old one. So while you were playing that tape and I was listening to it, I was also changing the IP to the current one, and I was just distracted trying to tell him that it was just playing for me, because while you were playing that Jeremy video, I had hit the radio player, and I could actually hear my voice coming in with that voice, in other words. So I know that the player's working now, so I don't know why he can't get it to work.
Okay.
So, at any rate, going back to where we were at, and like I say, I apologize for the distraction. That was taken just recently, and this is in Louisiana, right?
Oh, yeah, in New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay, you're not far from New Orleans, are you?
No, I'm only 50 miles away.
Actually, that's not very far at all. That's about a 40-minute drive, roughly, maybe 30 even, depending on traffic and what the speed limit is where you're located at.
Right.
So, isn't New Orleans where Marie Laveau was supposedly buried at?
She's buried in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 over there in New Orleans.
So, I may have asked you the last time you was on the show and forgotten. Have you actually been to her grave and tried to pick up any EVPs from her?
Yes, I have. We went there one Sunday, but unfortunately, what happened was that the graveyard closed at noon, and we couldn't get in. There was this guy that was like the sexton, and he was scalping money from people to let them in to go visit her grave and to walk around. So if you know me, and I'm a firm believer that you don't have to go into a haunted house. You don't have to go inside. You don't have to go in the room where the activity took place. You can go on the periphery of the house. You can go outside the grounds. And in this case, we actually went on the wall. We went outside. We were outside of the grave. We were outside of the graveyard. We were on the other side of the wall, just a little ways from Marie Laveau's tomb. And we recorded there. And the history of one of the histories of Marie Laveau is that she had a snake, and his name was Zombie. She called it Zombie, Z-O-M-B-I. And I asked her about her snake, and when I asked her about her snake, she told me in an EVP, she says, "You speak on Zombie. That snake loved a tree."
Okay, so that snake
that she used to have. I don't know if you could hear that. It's kind of a little muffled, but that's what it said. It told me I speak on Zombie. That snake loved a tree.
Actually, I did hear it, but I had trouble making out what it was saying. Having said that, I usually do have trouble understanding what those EVPs are saying. They're so distant and so fast.
Right. Yeah, it is. But some of them come out pretty clear, and some of them don't. It depends on where in the suite the voices decide to speak.
Well, if you were to take a guess on which one has scared you the most, if any of them have even scared you, which one would you say it would be?
Well, it's in my book, so I have to mention it because after that incident, everything after that couldn't compare to the fright that I experienced. Like I say in my book, when I went to T. Frere's Bed and Breakfast in Broussard, Louisiana, and the first time I stayed there by my house, I woke up in the middle of the night and a spirit was pulling on my toes. And the next time I stayed there was a rosary on the bed. I said a rosary, got on my knees, prayed a rosary that night, got in bed, woke up in the middle of the night, and somebody was rubbing on my knees. And the third time that I stayed there, I woke up in the middle of the night, nothing had happened. Went to the bathroom, got back into bed.
Uh-oh.
As I'm starting to doze off, somebody jumped on top of me in the middle of the night, jumped on top of me, held my covers taut so that I could not move. I'm there struggling to get out, just because I was frightened. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And after about 10 seconds, the spirit let go. I threw the covers back, jumped out of the bed, grabbed my camera, snapped a picture. There's nothing on the picture. And I said, "You're good."
So, you figured out later on that it was a prankster ghost, maybe?
It might have been, but if you read the chapter in my book on Tooth Fairy's Bed and Breakfast, supposedly the wandering spirit there, Amelie, who supposedly committed suicide by accident. Well, they say she drowned herself in the cistern in the well in the back of the house. But the spirits there tell me that her brothers that lived there with her, T. Frere, killed her, and he stuffed her in the cistern. And so I don't know if it was a Xenophore Como, that's his T. Frere's real name. I don't know if maybe it was him and he was showing his presence,
Or just taking up his old occupation on the other side.
Right. Now, in that same room, and this is a true story, okay, 2 years ago, on Halloween, I had to do some training in Broussard. And a friend of mine, this is a coworker of mine and I, we went to some training in Broussard, and that night, as Halloween, we had to stay in the house, and I stayed in that room. Well, I woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning. It was the witching hour, and so I decided that I was going to I had my infrared camera ready in the corner of the room. I decided I was going to turn it on at 3 o'clock, just leave it on to see what I would capture. I was really looking for orbs, okay? So I set it up, and after I set it up, I went back, got up in bed, and in the video, you can actually see me. I'm throwing off my covers because I couldn't remember if I hit the record button. So when I'm throwing back my covers, you can hear a voice on the video on the camera, and it says, "You're growing doom."
That would be kind of scary for me, too. So, tell me, did you install a new back door? No, but when I heard it, first time I heard it, I'm there like, oh my goodness, this is outrageous, that was the first time I really ever picked up something on my video camera like that. But ever since that time, I've picked up several disembodied voices on different cameras that I have. But that was my infrared camera. And it was a little cheap, like $60 Vivitar infrared camera, And with that camera, last December, and I had forgot to put this one into my book, okay? And this is really, really one of the best disembodied voices that I captured anywhere. I was at the Woodland Plantation. And the history behind the Woodland Plantations, where they had the original owner, William Johnson, who was a riverboat pilot. He was also a pirate, and he was in cahoots with Jean Lafitte. And Jean Lafitte used to raid the slave ships in the Gulf of Mexico and bring them up Grand Bayou to Point Alahash, where Woodland Plantation is at. And this is before the plantation was actually built. They had 4 slave dormitories there, where they housed the slaves that Jean Lafitte raided in the Gulf of Mexico, and then they sold them upriver into New Orleans. So, and that's where they kept the slaves before they brought them to auction. Well, I was staying there one night, and this was like in Christmas before last. And when I'm there, and I woke up about 5 o'clock. And I put on my infrared camera.
and I was pointing it towards the corner of the room because orbs like to travel along the crevices in between the wall and the ceiling. So that's where I pointed my camera, and you can see my bald head in the video because I posted that on my YouTube channel also. And you see my bald head, and then you hear this disembodied woman's voice, and she says, "I call them up from hell myself. Come see that."
Well, that wasn't exactly comforting.
To say the least.
Called them up from hell myself.
And this is my thoughts on it, is because you had these slave quarters there, and they had, the slaves came from Haiti, so they probably brought their voodoo with them, and it might have been a female voodoo Vodun who was, trying to communicate with me. Maybe maybe it was residual. Maybe they were having a voodoo ceremony, and they had a fire, and she was telling somebody to come see what she can conjure up out of the fire.
Yeah, I know I've seen a documentary not long ago that was talking about voodoo in the Louisiana area, how it's so commonplace over there compared to over here.
Right. Look, I pulled it up on my YouTube channel. Let me see if you can hear this. I'm going to comment on it, let it play, and let's see if we can hear it. Hold on one sec. Here we go. Here we go.
I could hear the EVP, but yeah, there was so much background noise it was hard to make out what was being said.
Right. There was a lot of background noise there. But it's just amazing what you can pick up on a video camera, and surprisingly, if you go back, and because most people are just looking at their videos, they're not really searching for sound in their videos, okay? But of course, being an EVP buff, whenever I turn on a camera or whenever I play back a video from camera recording, that's the first thing I listen for, are voices. Because right when you turn on your camera, the energy that's released from the batteries, activating, provides enough energy for a spirit to talk along at the same time.
So you think the spirit actually has to make use of the energy in the batteries? Could that be why he drains them as he does it, because he's using it? Exactly.
And Royce, I mean, I'm a chemist, and I have a lot of theories. And there's a lot of theories that I can base that are active in nature, okay? And one of the physical properties of matter is that if you provide heat to atoms, okay, whatever the element is, if you provide a lot of heat to it, high temperatures, like anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, you actually excite the electrons in that atom, and they go to higher energy states, okay? And then as the atom cools, the electrons fall back down to the ground state, their original ground state, and in so doing so, they go through many transitions. And each transition that occurs as it cools releases photon of energy, okay, light. So I think that spirits can actively use the energy in their surroundings, and by these energy transitions that occur, they can show themselves to us in the infrared region of the spectrum. That's why these IR cameras can pick up orbs or energy balls or energy light bands that you might see on pictures. But I also think that in this vibrational mode, that's where in the infrared region actually activates vibrational states in atoms, in compounds, okay? When atoms are connected, they actually vibrate. And in those frequency ranges, what I'm thinking that might be occurring is that the spirits can take the energy okay, and in vibrational transitions that might be occurring. They can use those vibrational transitional energy patterns